I'm Patrick Stewart. I'm the Executive Director of the Atlas Performing Arts Center.
I'm Kara Barnes. I'm Director of Development here.
Washington is divided into quadrants: Northeast, Northwest, Southeast, and Southwest. And then within those quadrants there are neighborhood groups, and we're on the fringe section of the Capitol Hill, which is called the Near Northeast. The Atlas Performing Arts Center is was a brainchild of a woman Jane Lang, who put together a small group of people that thought initially it would be interesting to purchase a small building, renovate it into a theater that they can produce theater in every once in a while and then be able to rent out. Well, we have last year we had over 50 different companies use the space, any of the various spaces. We're home to 8 resident companies, and then about 20 other regular producing companies in Washington. I came out from San Diego. I met Jane Lang. The board was really turned on by the idea of building something that would have as great an impact outside of its aesthetic value as it does with its aesthetic value. I am a theater specialist by trade, and new work specialist predominantly, and you can't get much more new work than this. What we've done is we put together little sections of the building that can operate autonomously from one another. The section that we're in now houses a rehearsal hall and a lab theater, and then 3 dance studios. This is a large black box theater. It is a lot of our companies produce in here, and then we do a lot of events and stuff in here. A lot of nonprofits will use the space here for galas and whatnot. So this is the main theater space. Obviously, again, it's absolutely nothing indicative of the original movie theater. That idea that as theater artists we've worked in 1,000 different spaces, and every single time you say things like, oh, if this was my space I would, or if I get a chance I would take that element and that element, that kind of thing. And so that's what this is, and we end up with just amazing feedback from organizations that we bring through here, organizations that we present, or the organizations that rent the space. Organizations from overseas. We've had tours come through here from Australia and South Africa and Czechoslovakia, Poland. We have a Spanish company that's coming through later this month, but they all come through here and they're just blown away by how nice it is to work in this space. So that was a big deal. I mean, it's nice that you can build a car. That's great, but can you build a car that people are really going to want to drive? And that's kind of what we've done here. If the space isn't being used, if we're not creating an opportunity for fantastic art to be presented here, then what is really all of it good for? We consider the Atlas to be what we call a professional community-based performing arts center. And the community-based aspect of it is its geographical nature. We are the only performing arts center that is directly embedded within a community. In fact, some of our walls we share with other shops, and our back we share, and we can show you in a second, we share with residents of the neighborhood. You can see, these are backyards of our neighbors, and this is the eastern end of the residential Capitol Hill neighborhood. There's no other performing arts center like this in the East Coast, where you have a center this big, it's 60,000 square feet, that is literally in the community, based in the community. A bulk of our programming involves community organizations. In order to use our space, like as a resident or a discounted arts partner, you have to, working with myself and our staff, you have to create some type of programming that is community-centric. We'll put artists in schools, we'll put dance teachers in schools, we are the physical ed component for a local charter school. We are the arts component for another charter school whose primary focus is the arts. We require that all of the companies do things like community programming, community performances, student matinees, that sort of thing, so that we're involved with all of our other school and student groups and youth and family groups and that kind of thing. It's not enough just to have a student matinee. So you've never been introduced to art before. Now you're 15 years old. And now your parents sign your permission slip and your teachers take you out of school for 2 hours. And you come down here and you watch some boring play. And you get back in the bus and you go. And there's still no connection, you know. So, you know, to use a particular company as an anecdote, we, staff member and myself, identified several different schools whose curriculum obviously was not artistic because that wasn't a part of what they were teaching, but you know, language arts, I think 2 of them were language arts and 1 of them was history. And we raised the money to put the actors from that particular production in those schools for 6 weeks, you know, 1 hour a day, 2 hours a day for 6 weeks, creating a connection with a very specific group of students, and the students came and they had their own student matinee. After which, there were, you know, the post-play discussion questions, which generally, you know, when unprepared for, they're things like, you know, how long did it take you to memorize those lines? You ever been on TV? You know, things like that. These were questions like, you know, when your character was forced to make the decision between A and B and chose A, was it because the social forces that were blah, blah, you know, this kind of thing. Suddenly you see the director and the dramaturg and the actor herself, and everybody sitting there going, wow, I never really thought about that. You know, they dive into what the piece means from a piece of literature to a piece of performance to how it affects their lives, and then they take that out with them and sort of teach, I guess, their peers, you know, that kind of thing. And so, little by little, trying to use the work that goes on inside as that social change agent as well is a key component to what we do. These are spectacular. They are iron and plaster gates, and you can see how tall I am, how big they are. They were the only pieces of architectural stuff that we could salvage from the original movie theater itself. And they lived on either side of the movie screen, above sort of the exit doors. They hid the air return vents. This is the first public building in Washington with air conditioning. So you can imagine a lot of these stories that that the residents in the neighborhood will come with are things like, you know, my parents would send me down here in August on a Saturday morning with, you know, 50 cents and I'd be here all day, you know, that kind of thing. And, you know, aside from their engagement with each other as a social unit, they, you know, was also sort of the most comfortable building on the hill for them. The return on this investment is the social connection that the arts outside of the aesthetic can have with a community. The way that an arts-based philosophy can sort of infuse a new type of life into a section of a city that has just really kind of not given up on itself, but hasn't really realized its fullest potential yet. What's the theme? Community. Yeah. Connection to community. Absolutely. That's what we do the first thing that we get here, and it's the last thing we do when we leave. Make sure that we connect with the community. We're building a stronger area, a stronger community. It's not enough to say that you're going to raise $20 million and build an arts center so that a community can have something to be proud of, if all of the rest of the connections aren't being made. And that's more or less what myself and our staff does, is we've built it, we've got it up, we've got a great board, we've got a connection to some financial solvency. Now we need to get out and make all of those connections with the community.